The crystal chandeliers cast golden light across the ballroom as Marcus Reed stepped through the entrance of the Grandview Hotel. His tailored navy suit fit perfectly, his burgundy tie complemented the elegant surroundings. Tonight was supposed to be a celebration, a moment to witness the impact of his company's charitable work. The annual Hope Foundation Gala attracted the city's most influential figures, and Marcus had earned his place among them. He walked past tables draped in white silk, centerpieces of white roses standing tall. A string quartet played softly near the stage. Marcus checked his invitation again, table 3, seat A, the front row. He smiled, remembering the foundation director's enthusiasm when his company had committed $5 million to their education programs. That money would change lives, open doors for kids who deserved every chance to succeed. Marcus found his seat, the nameplate clearly reading Marcus Reed, Reed Capital Holdings. He settled into the cushioned chair, nodding politely to the elderly woman taking her seat beside him. She returned the gesture warmly. "Quite an event, isn't it?" she said. "Yes, ma'am. The foundation does incredible work," Marcus replied. Minutes passed. The room filled with laughter, conversation, the clinking of champagne glasses. Marcus checked his phone, responding to a quick message from his assistant. Everything was in order for Monday's board meeting. Then, a shadow fell across the table. "Excuse me, but you're in our seats." Marcus looked up. A couple stood before him, the man in his 50s with silver hair slicked back, the woman younger, blonde, draped in diamonds that caught the light. Their expressions held no warmth, no courtesy. Just expectation. Marcus gestured to his nameplate. "I believe this is my assigned seat." Marcus Reed. Table 3, seat A. The man, Daniel Whitmore, barely glanced at the nameplate. "There's been a mistake. This table is reserved for major donors. You probably want the general seating area, further back." Patricia Whitmore, his wife, added with a thin smile. "The staff sometimes gets confused with the arrangements. I'm sure you understand." Marcus felt the familiar weight settle in his chest. That old, tired burden. He built a financial empire from nothing, graduated top of his class from Yale, managed billions in assets. Yet here, in this moment, none of that mattered to these two people. They saw only his skin, made only assumptions. "I assure you, there's no mistake," Marcus said, keeping his voice steady. "This is my assigned seat." Daniel's face reddened. "Listen, friend, we've donated a considerable amount to this foundation. We're seated at table 3. Now, I suggest you check with the registration desk before this becomes awkward." Other guests began noticing the commotion. Heads turned. Whispers started. The elderly woman beside Marcus spoke up. "Perhaps we should call someone from the foundation to clear this up." "That won't be necessary," Patricia said quickly. "We'll handle this." She waved over a security guard, a young man who approached reluctantly. "Yes, ma'am. This gentleman is in the wrong seat. Could you help him find where he belongs?" Patricia's tone dripped with false politeness. The security guard looked uncomfortable, glancing between Marcus and the couple. "Sir, may I see your invitation?" Marcus handed it over, jaw tight. The guard studied it, then the nameplate, then Marcus. "This appears to be correct, ma'am. His invitation matches the seating assignment." Daniel scoffed. "Then someone made an error. We purchased these seats. We're on the executive committee. Fix this." The tension thickened. More people watched now. Marcus saw their faces, some curious, some uncomfortable, others showing clear judgment about the situation unfolding. Marcus stood slowly. "It's fine. I'll move." "Sir, you don't have to," the security guard said quietly. "I know," Marcus replied. "But I'd rather not ruin everyone's evening." He gathered his phone and program, walked toward the back of the ballroom where empty seats clustered near the kitchen doors. The elderly woman from table 3 caught his eye as he passed, Her expression said, apologetic. Marcus gave her a small nod. This wasn't her fault. It never was anyone's fault but the people who chose to see him as less than. He took a seat at table 19. The white tablecloth had a small stain near the edge. The centerpiece held fewer roses. From here, the stage seemed distant, the speakers would sound muffled. But he could still see. Still hear. Still witness what his money would accomplish. Daniel and Patricia settled into their claimed seats, chatting with other guests as if nothing had happened. Laughing. Comfortable. Victorious in their small, ugly triumph, the lights dimmed. The foundation's director, Helen Park, took the stage. Her silver gown shimmered under the spotlight. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us for our 20th Annual Hope Foundation Gala. Applause rippled through the room. Tonight, we celebrate not just our achievements, but the extraordinary generosity that makes our work possible. This year, we've provided scholarships to over 300 students. We've opened 2 new community learning centers. We've changed lives. More applause. Marcus clapped along, genuine pride swelling despite the earlier humiliation. Helen continued. Our success depends on visionaries who believe in our mission. People who understand that investing in education means investing in our future. Tonight, I want to recognize someone whose contribution has been truly transformative. At table 3, Daniel leaned toward Patricia, whispering something. She smiled, straightening her posture, preparing for acknowledgement. This individual's company committed $5 million to our scholarship program. $5 million that will send deserving young people to college, that will break cycles of poverty, that will prove what's possible when someone believes in you. Daniel adjusted his tie. Patricia touched her diamond necklace. This contribution represents more than money. It represents faith in human potential. It represents the kind of leadership our community needs. Helen paused, building the moment. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in thanking the founder and CEO of Reed Capital Holdings, Mr. Marcus Reed. The spotlight swung across the room, searching. It found Marcus at table 19, near the kitchen doors, in the cheap seats, in confused murmurs. People turned, craning their necks to see. The spotlight held steady on Marcus as he stood, buttoning his jacket. At table 3, Daniel's face drained of color. Patricia's mouth fell open, her hand frozen on her necklace. Marcus walked down the aisle between tables. Each step measured, dignified. The murmurs grew louder. People began piecing together what must have happened, what they'd witnessed or heard about earlier. Helen extended her hand as Marcus reached the stage. Thank you for being here, and for your incredible generosity. Thank you for the important work you do, Marcus said into the microphone, his voice carrying to every corner of the ballroom. He turned to face the audience. Hundreds of faces looked back. Some guilty, some shocked, some genuinely pleased to see him honored. His eyes found table 3. Daniel stared at his plate. Patricia had gone pale beneath her makeup. I want to start by saying that this foundation represents everything I believe in. Education opened doors for me that seemed impossible when I was growing up. My mother cleaned offices at night so I could have books, so I could dream bigger than our circumstances. The Hope Foundation gives other kids that same chance. The room listened, silent now except for his voice. But I also want to address what happened earlier tonight. When I arrived, I sat in my assigned seat. A couple assumed I didn't belong there. They assumed wrong. Uncomfortable shifting. Cleared throats. At table 3, Daniel seemed to shrink in his chair. I shared this not to embarrass anyone, though I imagine some embarrassment is warranted. I share it because this kind of assumption, this immediate judgment based on how someone looks rather than who they are, it still happens. Every single day. To successful people, to struggling people, to everyone who doesn't fit someone else's narrow picture of what success or worthiness looks like. Marcus's voice grew stronger. We can do better. We must do better. Because every time we make those assumptions, we diminish someone's humanity. We deny their dignity. We participate in a system that has caused immeasurable pain for generations. Some people nodded. Others looked away, perhaps examining their own biases. But here's what I also believe: we can change. Not overnight. Not easily. But steadily, purposefully, if we commit to seeing each person as they truly are. To offering respect as a default, not as something to be earned through proof of status or wealth or credentials. Marcus paused, letting his words settle. The money I've donated tonight will help kids who face barriers I once faced. Some will face additional barriers I never did. My hope is that by the time they're adults, attending events like this, they'll be judged by their character, their contributions, their humanity. Nothing more, nothing less. The applause started slowly, then built. People rose from their seats, a standing ovation that filled the ballroom with sound. Marcus saw genuine emotion on many faces. Others clapped mechanically, perhaps out of obligation. At table 3, Daniel and Patricia remained seated. Frozen, after the speech, after the dinner service, after the awards and the closing remarks, people approached Marcus. Some wanted to apologize for what they witnessed. Some wanted to discuss business opportunities. Some simply wanted to shake his hand, to tell him his words had moved them. Helen Park found him near the exit. Marcus, I'm so sorry about what happened. If I'd known. You couldn't have known, Marcus said gently. But perhaps it needed to happen. Perhaps people needed to see it, to confront it directly. The Whitmores have resigned from the executive committee, Helen said quietly. Effective immediately. Marcus nodded slowly. That's their choice. I hope they use this as a moment for growth, not just shame. You're more gracious than they deserve. Maybe. Or maybe I just know that anger and resentment won't heal anything. Change comes from hope, from believing we can be better. As Marcus stepped into the cool night air, his car waiting at the curb, he felt the weight finally lift. The evening had started with humiliation, yes. But it had ended with truth. With dignity reclaimed. With seeds planted in minds that might bloom into genuine change. He thought of the 300 students receiving scholarships. Kids who would sit in classrooms, graduate, build careers, maybe attend galas of their own someday. Would they face the same prejudice? Probably. But perhaps a little less. Perhaps each generation chipped away at the old walls until finally, one day, they crumbled completely. Marcus slid into the car's back seat. His driver, Thomas, met his eyes in the rearview mirror. Good evening, sir. Marcus smiled. A real smile, one that reached his eyes. Better than expected, Thomas. Much better than expected. The car pulled away from the Grandview Hotel, leaving behind the lights, the whispers, the small victory won in a room full of witnesses. Tomorrow, Marcus would return to his office, to conference calls and investment strategies. But tonight's work had been different. More important, perhaps, than any deal he'd ever closed. Change was slow. Justice was imperfect. But hope, real hope, was stronger than hate. And that made all the difference.